WHIV-LP FM in New Orleans. We are Radio NOLA HIV with programming. That's right, programming dedicated to human rights and social justice. WHIVFM.org. We honor independent voices. We are not a radio station with a mission. No, we are a mission with a radio station, and that is to end all wars. Welcome to COVID NoiseFilter, the every other day daily long show. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at this time. If you're tuned in on the radio, this is being recorded on July 19th. My name is Dr. Mark Allen Derry. Sitting across the digital divide is my friend and yours. Say hello, Doc Griggs.
Hello, Doc Griggs.
Before we get started, we need to help pay some of the bills here at WHIV. So let me start off by reminding everybody that LaCille is a community-based organization, and they would like to remind you that millions of us have rolled up our sleeves, and millions are still counting on you to do so because of our health and our loved ones, and especially for our community. So be the next in line to get your shots. As Dr. Griggs says, take the shot. Together we can halt.
Take the shot. Shut up and take the shot. Shut up and take the shot.
Together we can halt COVID-19 and protect ourselves and those around us. There's more information available at haltcovidla.com. That's haltcovidla.com. A friendly reminder from LaCille, a local nonprofit organization dedicated to the well-being of Louisiana. Doc Griggs, how are you doing?
Good. Well, I don't know about good. A little stressed. Things are heating up, and that we're used to because we expect, but it's falling on deaf ears, just like we're at the beginning of the pandemic again.
Yes. I 100% agree. What did you see over the weekend?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people not wearing masks. I saw a bunch of people acting as though it's over. I talked to a lot of people that says that they're not taking, that voluntarily walking up to me, Doc, you know I'm not taking that vaccine. I know all the stuff that you're saying. I hear it, but I'm not doing it. And I'm like, well, that's your decision. That's your opinion, and that's so. Do me a favor and back up.
Yeah. Do you take out? And they're unmasked as well, right?
They're absolutely unmasked. I've had people question me why I'm masked if I'm vaccinated. I said because you're not.
Do you take out the cartoon and show them the animation?
I don't even engage at this point. To be quite honest, I mean, we can show them. They watch, they follow, but they come up with their reasons. Every time you see them, there'll be a different reason. I think a lot of them just enjoy the banter and like going back and telling their friends, oh, I saw Doc Griggs, and I told him. I'm just not doing it. You're going to see me now, see me later. You're either going to call me because you're not feeling well and want to know where you can get a test, or you're going to get freaked out and you're going to want to know where you can get a vaccine. Science always wins. We've never man versus science. Science, it's a 1,000%. Science wins. So I'm just gonna stay focused on the positive and keep trying to. All we're doing is saying the same thing over and over.
Yes,
Shut up, get the shot, wear your mask, wash your hands. What? How is there even an argument from any adult any person above the age of 5 about whether or not the fact that you don't want to wash your hands? Like, how can you argue about that?
There's a congressman, you guys can check me on this, but there's a congressman who claims he hasn't washed his hand in like 15 years.
Yeah, like, why? Who says that? Why would they, like?
Because they're dirty and disgusting and and full of hubris and not recognizing that science always wins. Not realizing that when they have a diarrheal disease, they don't realize it's because of their own stupid, unclean hands, you know? They'll be like, oh, I must eat something. You did just eat something. You're right. But it's not what you think it is.
So it kind of gets, it speaks to kind of, I'm just kind of jumping ahead a little bit. What we talked about today was the possible re-implementation of mask mandates. Absolutely, there will be a re-implementation of mandates, masks, and compared to what we're doing now, based on the data. This has been an evidence-based process. The science has dictated, at least in our region, has dictated the policy, or at least we tried really hard. And as such, if the numbers keep going up, and we'll go over them, it's going to happen. And what's happening here, we're exactly on par and in parallel with what's happening in the UK and in Israel. We've been saying it for how many months? Over a year now. Follow what's going on in other countries, and you'll see what we can prevent from happening here. And here we are.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, the interesting thing is, we accept the fact, we have to accept the fact that it's going to get worse before it gets better. The positive thing is that it will eventually get better. We lived through January. In India, those that did live, it comes in waves, and they weathered the storm with like a 2% vaccination rate. Our vaccination rate is higher. Our numbers will be higher. Relative to what we saw last year, I don't think that we'll possibly get as many hospitalizations and deaths as we did, because we have a much higher vaccination rate, of course, than we did last year. And we have a much higher vaccination rate than we did than India. But are people going to get sick for just disregarding the science? Absolutely. And it's going to get scary. So we got 4 to 6 weeks of drama that we have to anticipate. But hopefully by September we'll be through some of it with Delta, and because there's only so many ways that this thing can mutate, there's only so much that we might get through Mu. I'm hearing maybe.
Dude, we're gonna wrap around and be like, get hit with Delta, Epsilon.
Yeah,
that's what I predict. But yeah. Eric, you mentioned something. I want to get back to that. Yeah, I haven't used that one on you apparently. I want to go back to something that you said a moment ago. You said that you're getting ahead of yourself, and you're right. I was going to ask you, kind of like, what are your thoughts on going back to a mask mandate? And do we anticipate, when I saw you on the news this morning, I know you got asked that question on Fox 8. So this is a dual segment of, I want to pick your brain, but at the same time, what did you talk about on the news this morning segment? Yeah. So, I have my thoughts. I think that it's pretty obvious what my thoughts are. I'm certain that they match your thoughts, but I guess not necessarily do we need to speculate on, is there going to be a mask mandate? I think you and I both think that there probably is, but we'll of course let that speak for itself. But what about your thoughts about a mask mandate happening? Or better yet, should we have ever dropped our mask mandate? I guess is even a better question.
So the answer is, so my thoughts are, first of all, let me start with the second part. We should never have, we just confused, we muddied the water. My personal thought is that an indoor mask mandate should stay in place until we get further down the road, particularly in light of when we can look out the window and see another variant taking over, ravaging another country, and we don't have any travel restrictions. And we knew that other variant would be here, and we knew the incubation period, we knew the replication rate, we knew exactly, we knew the pattern of what could happen in unvaccinated populations, and that's exactly what's happening now. We're having a tale of two communities. We have a tale of the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. Yep. Dr. Walensky said there's a pandemic in the unvaccinated. Well, a pandemic for some of us is a pandemic inside of a pandemic for all of us, because you're going to see more breakthrough cases. In some communities, in San Diego in particular, all of the breakthrough cases are the Delta variant. Yep. In large part, the new infections, Delta it's first of all, it's 97 to 99% in unvaccinated people, and then it's nationally, I've seen the number that it's about 56% as of that article. Now, considering the fact that it's replicating and the viral load is 1,000-fold what the alpha is, by the time I finish speaking, that number's gone up. So eventually it's going to be, in the graphs that you show, that we go over all the time, show that it's becoming more and more predominant. So here's the deal, my thoughts. If you're not going to get vaccinated, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But the best way, and the thing that we can do most to protect the general public, everyone, from your decision, is to have a mandatory mask mandate. indoor masking mandate. We need to keep wearing a mask. And they're finding, there was a question, I was watching a webinar, we have to study and learn and hear what everyone's saying. And they were saying that they're finding, this is the Association of Healthcare Journalists. And one of the journalists said that they're finding that the outdoor transmission appears to be higher than with the outdoor strains. Of course, if you have 1,000-fold viral load, meaning that if you have 1,000-fold the number of viral particles or viral particles in your nose, as people are outside talking loud and singing and no social distancing and no mask, of course there's going to be more outdoor transmission. But more importantly, we can't forget the fact that this is an indoor disease. This is a disease of indoor respiratory transmission, meaning that it's always still better to be outside if you can. We have to go back to social distancing, and the best way to protect everyone is to wear a mask. Wear a mask. Indoor masking. You cover everyone. Again, it's not like your superpower. I've been waiting since I got both my shots, my web, my spider web, my superpowers. Been trying to fly, it's not working. So there's no way that you can tell whether or not I've been vaccinated. My eyes didn't turn one purple, one blue or green. None of that.
And what if I wave a wand on you? Would your chip show up?
I don't know. I kept doing this to see if it would pop, and I'll keep trying to get my SIM card out of my ear, and it's just not coming out. So the point is, until we can be sure that everyone is, if one person isn't protected, then none of us are protected.
Right.
So my thought is there needs to be indoor mask mandates, particularly and these are just my thoughts, folks, particularly when you talk about kids that can't vaccinate themselves. I mean, they can't be vaccinated yet, and you're going to put them indoors with adults that may or may not be vaccinated. They're going to be in close proximity and be kids. They might have asymptomatic infections, but just because you're asymptomatic doesn't mean that you won't have long-term effects. What's the best way to do that? If you're going to have unvaccinated people, indoors or outdoors, we have to wear a mask, folks. We have to wear a mask. Take the politics out and let's just go with the science.
But there are some people who, and there's a bunch of comments I want to get to here in a second. But why is it though that you have people that want to have their cake and eat it too? They don't want to get vaccinated and they don't want to wear masks. Like it's on principle. It's just on straight principle. I mean, the thing that I'm hearing. No, I didn't know. Sorry, there's no outdoor. If I did say outdoor strain, I misspoke. There's no outdoor strain. I'm not saying that. What I was trying to address was the fact that the Delta is not an outdoor strain. This is still an indoor respiratory illness. This is something that's transmitted mostly indoors. Even though you might be seeing more infections as a result of people being outside, this is primarily, at its essence, is still one that's transmitted indoors. The big issue that I'm hearing from the community nationwide, actually, is that the people that don't want to get vaccinated are the ones that don't want to wear masks, and they're not going to do either because they simply say, because I'm not. Right.
It's a matter of principle, and the only way to combat principle is let people live the experience.
Right. Yeah, and I also have to take it back to, and these are people that will also, there's a large Venn diagram that overlaps, that these are folks that are the same folks that want to also then get in between a woman and her right to her reproductive health. And I think that's just an important point to make. My face, my body, that sort of stuff. But this does take us back to the fundamental.
Doc, I have to take this real quick. I'm listening. I have to take this.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, this takes us back to the fundamental issue that we've talked about a lot on the show, we versus me society. And this is really highlighting the we part, and that we are not a we. So I guess what it's really highlighting is the me part of our society, in that we do not really fundamentally care for one another as a society. I would say about half of us do, those that certainly you can measure that, those that were vaccinated. But it is really, it's truly remarkable, and we will, without question, be getting back to mask mandates, either in the state, possibly in the parish, maybe even countrywide. So just real quickly to go through some comments here. Carl says, you said everything that could possibly be explained. Like, how is it so important to get vaccinated and still be able to get the virus? Remember, if there is a breakthrough case, those breakthrough cases are very, very mild. They're more like a cold more than is anything else. And one of the issues that we can say is that even if you do get a breakthrough case, we don't know what the long-term problems are if you develop long-term issues like pulmonary scarring and this sort of stuff, like you may see if you get full-blown COVID. But still, I think it's super important for us to be wearing masks. Today, I had everybody in my clinic double mask. Everybody in my clinic was double masked today. I double masked. I go out, I'm double masked. So yes, I am back to double masking, and I still think it's important. In fact, I never even stopped double masking, to be honest with you guys. Angela says, yes, I was going to ask you too about the cases of fleeting transmission in Australia. I assume it's unvaccinated people. Yes, so this idea of fleeting transmission are strangers that are likely passing COVID on to one another. This goes back to something that I've been talking about for a long time. Not only have I been calling, I initially early on called for the CDC and the WHO to call COVID a airborne disease, but the idea of social distancing for 6 feet apart, when I showed numerous data points and studies that showed that people were getting COVID even further away than 6 feet. But this idea of fleeting is that this idea of being with somebody for 15 minutes is the time that it takes to get COVID. We are seeing cases where people are just breathing or coughing and possibly transmitting it to one another. And so, yes, Angela, I assume that this is Delta or could even be Delta Plus. Go ahead, Eric.
So Ken, I just want to expound on that just a little bit. The reason why you hear me say 1,000 times the viral load, meaning that for every one viral particle in the nasopharynx, if you were infected before from the original strain or the wild type, there are 1,000. 1,000. So when you sneeze or talk loud, it would be the equivalent of 1,000 people, 1,000 people sneezing or talking, or it's that concentrated. So as you talk about what you're talking about in Australia, I think there was one article I read. It was in a hotel. It was room service, and there was an order of food in 2 adjacent rooms, and their doors just between the rooms as they were delivering the food, their doors just so happened to be open for 2 to 3 seconds. Someone laughed, coughed, sneezed, or something. It hit the person in the other room and spiraled out into a super spreader situation in Melbourne, Australia.
Right.
When you have concentrations, if you can imagine 1,000, it sounds like a cartoon, right? And with the Delta variant, if you can imagine, right? Can you see it?
No, don't.
Wait. If you can imagine there being 1,000 viral particles with parachutes waiting to jump into someone else's nasopharynx or oropharynx on a talk or a loud sneeze, and when I say thousands, just think about this. Whereas normally there might have been 10 to 100, there's 10 to 100,000 viral paratroopers waiting to jump into Mark Allen's nasopharynx or mouth or his eyes when he opens his door. Somebody's going to get in.
Right.
Somebody's getting in, and immediately. Now, here's the other thing to think about. All of these viral particles, they're mutating and they're replicating. So that's how quick it is. That's why you have an earlier onset of symptoms. That's why it's fleeting. That's why it's requiring less of a time for exposure. So it's very real. This is real, and this is the Delta variant, and it's real. Now, again, when I was reading in the chat, they're saying that Carla said that constantly the vaccine does not protect against the Delta variant. So from what we're hearing, you are protected in the sense that you will not. The likelihood of you being hospitalized or dying is almost zero. I'll just say almost zero.
Jinx.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Jinx. Yeah, it's almost zero.
Yeah, almost zero. So you're much better protected, and if you do become infected with Delta, it's a milder case than you would normally have.
All the more reason to go out and be masked and make sure everybody around you is masked up.
Yeah, so at this point, this feels like a really, it's a bootleg version of Groundhog Day. We're living all of this over again. Bootleg. Like we're buying the CD off a guy on the street about to go through this pandemic again.
It's one of those CDs where they hold a camera and they just they're filming the TV.
You see everything shake. The camera does this. but because we're living through something that we don't have to go through. This isn't, man. There's no reason we should be doing this.
Right.
But we're doing it because people are exercising. Again, people have a right in our country to make their own decisions, and you have to respect it, and we respect it. The problem is that your decision is affecting those around you, and because we're dealing with a pandemic, within a pandemic amongst the unvaccinated, eventually, because of nature, because of natural selection, because of evolution, it will evolve to a point that this becomes a problem for all of us. When the virus, so again, I mentioned earlier, and Doc was talking about Mark Allen was talking about the Delta Epsilon. I mean, the virus is going to keep mutating and doing what it does. But on that spike, there's only so many things that can happen on the spike. Now, here's what happens, though. The issue with where the epsilons and the other things happen is that what happens if we get to mutations on the surface protein as well as on the spike? Who's to say it can't do that? Who's to say it now? You know, some of our other colleagues are saying they don't see a situation necessarily where the virus evolves beyond our capabilities with vaccines, and that's hopeful. That's really, really hopeful, and we're hopeful in the fact that, again, even in India, where this Delta variant that we know of, this original Delta variant was just devastating, we're in a much better position than they were when it hit, and it's going to come and go at some point. The problem is we just have to see what we're left with. I think we've said several times, this is the largest non-consented experiment in natural selection that we all didn't sign up for. It's because people refuse to get vaccinated, and more importantly, you have to put it together. They refuse to get vaccinated, and they refuse to wear a mask. There are very few people I know. I'm trying to think now. Do I know anyone that's unvaccinated that argues that they won't take the shot that wears a mask? I don't know anyone that's being that responsible yet. All the people I know wearing masks are the people that are vaccinated right now. And if that's unfair, I would love to be proven wrong.
That's the crazy thing about that. The people that are wearing masks are the vaccinated. Tamiko says she's got severe asthma. Would we recommend her coming home? I wouldn't at this point. Tamiko, I know it's been very hard. I would not get on an airplane for 11 hours. Not at all. Sherwood Collins says, okay, I know someone who was COVID positive about a year ago, had some significant symptoms, not hospitalized, recovered. Do they have antibodies that would be resistant to Delta, or is there even any data on that? So what you're asking for is natural. I have not seen natural immunity. I think I saw one study that looked at natural immunity, and it was very, very low. If they have not been vaccinated, they need to be vaccinated, right? Did you say they were vaccinated or not? I don't think you mentioned if they were vaccinated, but no, I would assume that natural immunity, that the Delta virus probably laughs at natural immunity.
The reason it would be lower, the reason the vaccine would be effective, the reason that we're, like myself, who did not know it and had natural immunity and the antibodies, I'm a huge proponent of being vaccinated anyway, is because it's like having a sharpshooter or a sniper, specifically against what we're fighting, as opposed to just rolling the dice and thinking that hopefully I'm covered. With the vaccines, if you know that you're protected specifically against the Delta variant, you don't run as high a risk of not being covered. Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally making sense. Yeah, you know, I think another way of thinking about it is that the best immunity you can have, the Delta variants are just blowing away Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. You know, these rates are about 60%, and some people think that they're about 60% also. Hey, Eric, I may need you to take over really quickly. It's trying to rain.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, just just will you respond to Layla here? She couldn't get into doctors, what's going on with doctors, so I'm going to say something about that too.
Yeah, I read that,
Hands
Layla,
up.
and
Hands up.
again, what we're seeing now is really what we're seeing is the effect of COVID. We went through it last year, and how it can indirectly affect the hospital care system. I understand you pay for the best insurance to be able to do what you can, but the thing is, if everyone is either COVID anxious and fearful, so they're careful with their scheduling, or they're taking care of people and prioritizing people with COVID, people that go to the doctor for other things really get displaced, and it really it's unfortunate. And that's why we all need to try to get on the same page so we can move this COVID thing out of the way and get on with our normal lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, just on a quick personal level, Layla, is there anything I could do just to kind of hold over until you see your primaries? Please let me know.
So, and I'm reading what else she said. She was saying no because they think the virus is fake, and they would argue 99% survival rate. Yeah, 99% survival rate versus 100%. So of all the people that I know about that are dead, 100% are dead.
Right.
Yeah, 99% of the people that are being infected and the hospitalizations and deaths right now are in the unvaccinated. And of those that have passed away, 100% have died.
Right. And I can't think of a better argument to explain getting vaccinated. Here you have, would you all recommend that fully vaccinated folks avoid dining in restaurants?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%. I eat outdoors only. I do not, for a hot second, I may have had 1 or 2 meals indoors, but I did not feel comfortable doing it. Tonight is typical date night at the Derry and Elliott household. And if we do go out and eat tonight, it'll be outdoors only, never, ever indoors. Layla says, going back to Layla, this is a huge problem. It's absolutely due to COVID. I'm very upset that we may have done nothing for this process, but to see the vaccine as a magic pill. We need to change and reform our healthcare system so that it won't be overwhelmed. Oh my goodness, you're speaking my language, Layla.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like there's no question what you're saying is 100% true. Just to finish what you're saying, we can't only rely on vaccination or herd immunity, because once we are out of this pandemic, what if there is something airborne? I'm tired of hearing about how the labor shortages and why things are broken because people refuse to work. Hundreds of thousands of people have died, but there are labor shortages because people have died. Yes, there's that, of course, and there's also that people aren't paying enough as well. But as always, we just need to remember that we just need to shut up and take the shot. Just real quick, I think you may have mentioned this earlier. I hear constantly that the vaccine does not protect against this Delta. That's not 100% true. The data shows anywhere between, it depends on who you listen to and which vaccine you got. In the US, Johnson & Johnson accounts for 5% of total vaccinations. So let's assume mRNA vaccines, that's 95% of the rest of the country. There's anywhere between 80 to almost 90% protection of the Delta virus. It's not 100%. All the more reason for you to wear masks wherever you go, obviously. Do you think that it would be helpful to point out to people who question the efficacy of these vaccines against Delta the relatively mediocre rates of efficacy of the annual flu vaccine, as well as pertussis?
So,
go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Angela. So we've been doing that. We did that before flu season last year. Mark Allen was talking about how the vaccination rates were down. This was over a year ago now. And then flu season came around. We pushed. We did a great thing. The thing is, at this point, I want to really, if you're on principle not going to get the vaccine, okay, fine. Can you wear a mask? Can you just wear a mask?
Right.
If you don't want to do anything else, it'll protect you against the flu, obviously. Can you wash your hands? Can you wash your nasty? Can you wash your hands? Wash your hands, wear a mask if you're going to be around people, because you know that you're not vaccinated and that it's unsafe. That's all. Right. That's all I ask.
Right. And also it's crazy that in states across the country we're seeing, especially in southern states, that laws in which they're protecting people to both not mask and not vaccinate. Like that is the sorry state of this country that we're in right now. You know, it's
There's
like
a campaign in Florida to keep your and I think it's out of
yeah, no,
from a very
don't Fauci my Florida.
wow.
Right. Don't Fauci my Florida, or don't Fauci Florida, or how can I have a beer if, and this is the governor that's selling this, right? These are shirts. How can I have a beer if I am wearing a mask? I love this comment, Eric. This is
how can you have a beer on a ventilator?
There's your North Carolina coming out again, dude.
Sorry, Layla. Sorry. Bless their heart.
I stay masked up, but done shut down again and keeping safe as possible. You were right. We are living through something. Yes, we certainly are. Groundhog. This is the groundhog comment. Yes, I told you guys last week I played a gig last week in what was legally what was supposed to be an outdoor event. It got turned into an indoor event. 600 people. I double masked and I left. I did my gig. I had to play for 15 minutes and I was Gonzville, man. 600 people. It was unbelievable.
So I gotta mention, I have a friend, a very good friend. His family's awesome. His wife, his kids, the whole nine. They're attorneys. He's amazing. Got vaccinated. Was wearing a mask. Was being prudent. Got a headache, a weird headache, from what I understand. And he's like, just wouldn't go away. And started thinking that this isn't normal. I don't normally get headaches. Just let me go on a humbug, go get tested for COVID. Turned out he's COVID positive.
Yep.
Breakthrough COVID.
What about his family?
Well, I gotta wait to see because they're getting tested.
Right.
And if they live in the same house, the likelihood is pretty high that it could be living together. Right. But right now, the top numbers. Of course, we know that cohabiting, living in a house. It goes through people that live in the same places.
Right.
The people that spend time on buses is what we're finding, and in cars right now.
Right.
But you know what? He's not mad about it. And he even posted on, he's cool. He's vaccinated, so he knows he's not going to die. So he's cool doing everything virtually from his house to ride this thing out.
Right.
The worst is yet to come, folks. Just stay tuned. Like, here we go again.
Yeah, I know you are 100% correct.
Yeah, someone on my colleague over here was ready to start talking about things other than COVID and not gonna say anything. I got this twitch in my shoulder.
The delay from the FDA final legal approval for COVID vaccine seems to be taking too much time. I agree. The approval for the emergency use was quick. It was an emergency use. I mean, that's what EUAs are for. I don't know why there is a delay. I'm not sure. It's a really good point. I mean, no vaccine has been delivered this many times. You figure that they would do this.
So the pressure's on them to do it, and that's the last shoot. I mean, folks, that's going to be outside of just outright repetition. That's all we got right now. Like, once the FDA approves it, we'll get a couple millions of people vaccinated, hopefully, and then after that, it really will just be principle. I'm not doing it because I'm not. Right.
No, 100%. I'm just kind of scrolling through these. Wow, look at this. It took 3 days for my mother-in-law to be admitted to the hospital due to the impact of COVID in Houston. Wow. That's just unbelievable. Layla says, hey, I'm an avid TikToker because I like hearing about people's experiences. There's been a lot of breakthrough cases. However, all that I've seen, they say that they're feeling like they have bad allergies. So hopefully, yeah.
And they're getting younger and younger.
Right. They certainly are. All right. Do you want to?
Sorry wants to know how long. So my friend has a breakthrough case. He wants to know how long he should stay home at this point. I mean. Yeah, somebody today asked me how long somebody should be quarantined for, and I'm like, holy smoke, I haven't thought about that in so long. I hadn't either. Like, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
He's vaccinated, but he has it. So my default is to go back to the 7 to 10 days.
Well, I was like, I don't know. I mean, like, if you've been vaccinated, I was like, well, if you're masked, and you don't feel sick, You know, I mean, listen, we are going to start. We're going to be moving back to pre kind of like, I wouldn't say lockdown, because we're not going to. There's no way they would ever lock down again.
No, because the people wouldn't stand for it. At
right.
this point, there's no way we can get everybody to go back in the house. Everybody at one time. It's not going to happen.
Right. But I mean, you know, like for example, like would you come to White Linen Night?
No.
Not at all?
No. I don't even want to see the pictures.
Yeah, I don't think White Linen Night will. I actually really thought White Linen Night was going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen now, to be honest with you.
I'm good with that. You know, sorry, my just this is just off the cuff. I always default to the most conservative and the most evidence-based conservative and protection. So I mean, it had been reduced to 10 days, and then they were saying 7 days, and then they were saying you don't have to worry about it. Well, now obviously we do have to worry about it. Everything is being researched right now, but to be safe, I mean, if I were I'd stay home for 7 to 10 days.
Right. What is your thoughts about Tamika's that you don't have to wear a mask during games?
Yeah, you don't have to wear a mask during games. You
That's
have
crazy,
a viral
right?
load 1,000 times.
They're going to change that. There's no question about it.
You have a viral load 1,000 times the original. It's not like anyone yells or screams or raises their voice or drinks alcohol at the Saints game. And there's always social distancing. There's at least 6, sometimes 10, 12 feet, right, between folks. Yeah. So no, I'm being absolutely sarcastic. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to a game either. And it's funny. Mignon says something that I've heard a lot too. I went to Mexico, felt much safer there. Everybody wore masks inside, and 98% wore outside. Yeah,
that is literally the second time I've heard that in 24 hours. My roommate. Oh wait, so my roommate, Dr. King, Bryant, the one that got sick,
right,
was hospitalized early on. Yeah, he happened to be in town, and we actually got to catch up, see each other, and hang out and talk. And he was telling me the same thing. He went to Mexico and felt safer there than he did here.
Yeah, no, I totally believe that. Are you kidding? You know, Mexico, like, you know, versus the American society, you know, of course. You know, again, it's the weed.
Can you do that again? Can you make that noise again?
No, I was imitating you.
No. Do it again. No. You made a noise though. There's no noise.
I don't.
Yeah.
What did it sound like?
A dying raccoon.
A tiny raccoon. Did you see that cute picture of the raccoon being taken out of somebody's kitchen? And they had their like they were embarrassed. Did you see this?
Yes.
Dude, it was so cute, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, let me see if I can find it.
Folks, we got to bring levity to it, as much levity as possible, and that's why we've been here doing this the entire time.
Right.
We laugh to keep from crying.
Right.
Again, the good thing is though, we just have to just hunker down. It reminds me of the penguins, the March of the Penguins, when the males sit on the egg and they weather the storm while the female go out. They go out and they get food to come back, and there's that hard winter where they huddle together and they just weather the storm. It's basically what we have to do, but wear a mask, be vaccinated, and be prudent in vigilant.
Right.
Yeah, he's like, oh man. No pictures. No pictures.
It's so cute.
I don't want my mom to see my face.
Right. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want the other raccoons to, now what are they going to say?
Yeah.
What's Rocky the raccoon going to say now that he sees me? Does he have to take my picture?
Rachel says she loves a good trash panda.
Yeah. But look at the like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the 5. Yeah. But that's a claw right there, man. Look at the ear.
Eyes. Are they really looking? It's just.
Yeah. He's sorry. It's like when you're not supposed to look and you cover your eyes, but look at this. This is like a hand right here, right? I mean, and then look at right here. That's a claw right there, man.
No, they're not something that you want to tangle with. You see a raccoon, leave them alone.
Yeah. Don't assume that they're all going to be embarrassed, right?
Yeah, they're not warm and fuzzy. They don't like hugs.
All right. How much time do we have? We have 20 minutes. All right.
I love that name, Trash Panda. Trash Panda. That sounds like a song. Sounds like a mumble rap song. Panda, Trash Panda. Yeah.
A mumble rap? What is mumble rap?
Oh,
got it. All right.
You know what? Can we save that image? And I want to just get a fan or a sign, so when someone tells me they don't want to be vaccinated, I just want to be like, did you leave? I'm gonna snap my finger and be like,
yeah. That should be like our emoji. You know, That's really funny. No, that panda was so cute. Yeah, dude, that's so funny. Yeah, take
invasion of the trash pandas.
Unleash them on the unvaccinated.
that actually, Trash Panda sounds like a high school garage band name.
Trash. You know, dude, the next animation that we do, we should bring in the panda like like, oh, dude, the next time I do a dad joke, that should be the wah 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 and the trash
panda. He puts his head in. Wah.
Okay. All right, let's do this. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's get to our stories. All right.
Do it. We hadn't laughed in a long time. Don't do it.
Yeah. All right. The U.S. Surgeon General is attempting to sound the alarm about what's ahead. Dude, I've got some sorry-ass cases I need to report today. This is not one of them. Cases are increasing in every state. Millions of Americans are still unvaccinated, and the highly contagious Delta variant is spreading rapidly. He says nearly all coronavirus deaths are now among the unvaccinated. Yes, indeed.
And the thing is, of those deaths, 100% of them are dead. Like, that's it.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah, that is true. They are the dead ones are definitively dead. All right,
and that's each one of those is, for the most part, a family that's affected by other people's decisions.
Yeah.
Or that person's decision, and you're affecting other people just by something as simple as.
What do you think it's like as somebody's like realizing, like, you know, that kind of moment of like, oh no, I should have listened. Do you think that happened? What do you think that moment is like?
I don't know. I think it's horrible. I never want to experience it, but there are countless stories about that. Some are death and some are sickness. There was a story I was reading last night where a teenager is hospitalized and the mom just so regrets not getting him or her, I can't remember, vaccinated. Like, there's a lot of regret. Like, you just, I don't know.
It's gotta be so hard. It's got to be so hard. You know, it's got to be so hard. We talked about this, I think, last week. I've been hearing about children who want to get vaccinated, but whose parents won't allow it. There was a website, I can't remember if it was on the podcast, Eric, or if we talked about it here. I think it was here. We talked about this, I think, last week, right, Eric, where we talked about there was a website called like somethingvax.com or something, or KidVax or something, where kids are going online and creating these information portals for one another, so that you know, like what the laws are in your state or what have you. I can't remember. I think we did the story last week. But if kids, I think, like, if you're over the age of 14 in some states, you can get legally vaccinated without a parent's permission and stuff. So I can't imagine in a home where somebody, you know, where parents would be like, no, you cannot get vaccinated. That's just crazy. It's crazy to talk to me. All right, back to our stories. All right, it appears that scare tactics don't work. CBS poll shows unvaccinated and partially vaccinated Americans are actually, let me read this again. A CBS poll shows unvaccinated and partially vaccinated Americans are actually the least concerned about the Delta variant. Among the unvaccinated polled, 53% are worried about possible side effects, not of the virus, but of the vaccine. 50% cited no trust in the government, and 45% said 45%, Eric, 45% said they don't trust science. The sheriff of Los Angeles County said he's not going to enforce the reinstated indoor mask mandate because it contradicts CDC guidelines. I love when the police just do whatever they want to do because that's just who they are. He said his department is already underfunded and won't expend the limited resources, but he did ask for voluntary compliance. Wow, aren't you generous?
So I just want to go back real quick. The 45% says they don't trust science. Do they drive cars like the Flintstones? because when you drive a car and you step on a pedal called a brake, you trust the fact that the car is going to stop, and that's all due to science.
Right.
That's science.
Yeah. It's people just basically just highlighting the unfortunate ignorance of the American society. Is what that is. It's always bad when you hear about deaths from COVID-19, but Indonesia is reporting a sharp rise in the death of doctors from the virus. 114 doctors died from July 1st to the 17th. Not last year. They lived through the pandemic this year, which makes it more than 20% of the 545 total doctors who've died since the beginning of the pandemic. Indonesia has a 95% vaccination rate amongst healthcare.
Which vaccine are they using?
So that's a good question. It's probably the Sinovac vaccine. And to wrap this up, here's one more poll from YouGov and The Economist, which tells us, hang on, I gotta get my cat, which tells us here, will you finish reading this right here?
Yeah, it tells us, here's one more poll. YouGov that fully 1/5 of Americans believe, oh my gosh, really? 20% of Americans believe, 1 in 5 Americans believe microchips may have been planted inside the COVID vaccines. 15% say it's probably true, and 5% say it's definitely true. Among 30 to 44-year-olds, the number goes up to, the believers goes up to 27%. And what they left out is 90 to 100% of those people looked up that stat and did their research on their phone.
Right. And they were like, I'm down with it.
Right. I don't want to be microchipped, and I don't want to be tracked. Let me look on my phone for this information because my phone, of course, doesn't have any. Hilarious.
All right. So here's a couple more things. A federal judge upholds Indiana University's vaccination requirement for students. That's great news. So we are going to see crazy judgments, like the judgment that DACA is not legal from one federal judge. The law, which is supposed to be so objective, is anything but that. Unfortunately, is subjectively upheld. But here was a great expression of law in which federal judge upholds the Indiana University's vaccination requirement. Well, they should. They already have. It's never been challenged before with respect to vaccinations requirements at universities. And here's the disastrous story that I was talking about earlier. Facebook isn't killing people. Biden softens his attack over vaccine misinformation. I'm going to let you just kind of sit on that one there, Eric, because over the weekend, you and I were texting each other. I think it was it Dr. Vivek Murthy, who I think it was the Surgeon General who
it was him.
And said that Facebook is killing people. I would imagine that there was some phone calls that were made over the weekend, and now you have the president backpedaling, and throwing his Surgeon General under the bus. We've talked about this before in the past, that we can't let politics get in the way of this. I thought that was a bold statement from the Surgeon General. The Surgeon General was all over the news this weekend. And I thought that one of them was that he declared war. He declared it a national emergency, right? Declared misinformation a national emergency. And so I think talk like that is important. And in fact, I think I sent an article to you and Graylin, didn't I? So that we could talk about it on BOK on Wednesday.
Right.
And now we have this backpedal. So what are your thoughts on that, Eric?
I'm actually with the so Facebook isn't directly killing people, but the perpetuation of mis and disinformation. It's a splitting a hair. Mis and disinformation is killing people.
But Eric, how is it that we can't get our animation moving on social media at all, especially Facebook? But you have, you know, so I mean, this is where I part ways with you a little bit and say that like our animation should be all over Facebook, but we can't get it to pick up at all. It's being blocked by algorithms. But you have all of this disinformation that is transmitted effectively through social media.
Yeah, we don't know how to bypass or to jailbreak the algorithm, apparently. And well, here's the other thing: a lot of that mis and disinformation is being supported by groups. I haven't seen on my feed any mis or disinformation like we did this time last year. I just haven't seen it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't groups. There are groups. There are people that create Seth Godin has a book called Tribes. There are groups of people that have found themselves, anti-vaxxers, conspiracy theorists, anti-science folks that made their own groups. And there are hundreds of thousands of people out there that are perpetuating this bad information and really strengthening the foundation of principle. So it's tough. So I mean, going mainstream. When was the last time you saw something incorrect on your feed that was posted?
Dude, I had to stop looking at social media like right before the election.
I haven't seen anything. Nothing. I haven't seen anything like the likes of what we saw this time last year. So I don't think it's necessarily an overt thing.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm just saying I don't. I'm just trying to think. And folks that are tuning in, like, are y'all seeing? I have a question. Are y'all really seeing mis and disinformation that we have to dispel? I'd love for you to send it to us, but I haven't seen it yet.
And by send it to us, he means send it to him.
I'll take it. Yeah.
And you can do it at info@noisefiltershow.org. And really, that'll just go directly to our producer. But he'll make sure that Eric will get it.
Yeah.
info@noisefiltershow.org. By the way, please vote for COVID Noise Filter, as we are awarded or not awarded, we were nominated. We're being nominated to be nominated for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. So please go to podcastawards.com to vote for COVID Noise Filter under the section of health. Just a couple of real other quick stories there before we get to the numbers. We got to go real quickly here. De Blasio rejects any indoor mask mandate. I think that'll be a mistake. I bet you he turns around on that. At the same time, Boris Johnson isolates himself. England lifts nearly all legal COVID restrictions. That's ridiculous, because I'll show you in one quick second that the numbers are definitely going up. In France, however, where lockdowns still remain, protests while rising infections are happening. And also there's a protest as a result of the state, or the country rather, is mandating healthcare workers to be vaccinated. All right, like, yes, that just seems like the most obvious thing in the world. But people are out there protesting, which is crazy. A cluster overshadows run up to the games as a U.S. gymnast tests positive. And did you hear about the 17-year-old tennis player, American tennis? Yeah. And the U.S. pandemic safety net is coming apart. So those are some of the stories that I wanted to kind of really quickly talk about. The link is it's podcastawards.com. Eric, can you check to make sure that's what it is? Podcast Awards.
Yeah.
I think it's podcastawards.com. And again, you have to sign up. They don't sell email addresses. They don't spam you. But if you could just go to the website and log in, establish an account, log in.
That's it.
Yeah, is a podcastawards.com.
Yep.
Let me, in record time, kind of go through. Let me get through a lot of this stuff. I'll get to all this later. Sorry, hope I'm not making you guys dizzy. Let me. There's so many good stories to talk about. One of the stories I wanted to talk about, how Hammond was in the national news twice. One with the spelling bee, the winner of the spelling bee, and then of course the the teenager who won $1 million wants to go to medical school. Did you hear about this from the Take a Shot?
No.
Yeah, that's not the story.
No, I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, she was from Hammond. All right, I got 4 minutes. All right, let's see, 191,567,679. Deaths are 4.1 million. New cases are approaching 500,000. Deaths are almost 7,000 in the last 24 hours. I think what's notable here, and more than anything else, is that we are starting to see a significant uptick. Over under if it's going to pass the fourth wave. So fourth wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. Over under, what do you think? It's going to surpass it?
I don't think we'll get that high.
You don't think we'll get that high? All right.
Or the U.S.
This is world. This is global.
Oh no, it's going to pass it. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was just about to sit down and be like, all right, everybody quote me. Hear me today, quote me tomorrow. Greg says one thing. I was just about to be like, all right, we got to go. All right, mortality's going up, unfortunately. Hotspots around the world, we'll look at that. We're starting to see different parts of Africa really light up, which is really quite tragic as well. Looking at the U.S., strangely enough, had weird numbers. Almost 35 million, 624,810 deaths, but only 13,933 cases and new deaths 50. Now I understand it's a Monday, but we always look at Monday numbers and they're never this low. So it's sort of weird, the Monday cases, and 7-day case rate dropped just a little bit, but we're seeing the cases over the course of 7 days did go up. So it's like we're in that time where like the data is not really quite all going in the right direction. But we are seeing here in the U.S. is we are seeing that rate of rise is of great concern and something that we should continue to monitor as well. And here's what it looks like for 14 days. But that is nothing to sneeze at right there. I know it looks low, but it's going up. And
watch it. Yeah.
And we're seeing hospitalizations starting to go up as well, and deaths. So yeah, like Doc Griggs said, just watch it real quickly. How much time do we have left, Eric? Can you see this? Can you see the clock?
2 minutes and 39 seconds.
All right. So 3.6 billion across the country, so across the globe, 33.5 million doses a day. There's just unprecedented this amount of unbelievable. But in the U.S., 338 million doses, which amounts to 520,952. So we're down to that 1 million. Remember at one point we were like 2 million doses? It was unbelievable. Yep. But the reason why I brought this graph up is that look where Louisiana is now. It is now consistent with Mississippi and Alabama as the lowest vaccinated states, along with Idaho and Wyoming. So that's really, really unfortunate. Looking at the state of Louisiana, again, no new data yesterday, but or today rather, but we are seeing a real increase in cases there, which is very problematic. Hospitalizations and deaths are going up. We did in Louisiana go from high to very high risk level, so that's something to be concerned about. We're at 25.8 per 100,000 and a test positivity of 9.9, infection rate of 1.4, so that is not good. In Orleans, we did go from very high to high, but we have a higher daily case rate. Our infection rate is slightly lower. Our test positivity rate is higher. So I'm not sure how they brought us down to a high level.
Our positivity rate is 7.7.
Wow. And yeah, our test positivity rate is 7.7. So we hit the 59-second mark. Guys, thank you guys so much for being part of the show. We can't do this without you guys. Thank you guys so much. Eric, are you going to be here on Wednesday? Are you traveling? Or?
I'll be in town. I'll be here Wednesday.
All right, so we will have a show for you guys on Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for being part of the show. Like we say, we have the smartest audience in the world. We can't do it without you. Thank you guys so much. We love you. Get checked, get fit, get moving. Health is a human right. Peace out, everybody.
Get the shot. Health is a human right. Yeah.